What's up, guys? Welcome to the Drone Camps channel. I'm Justin Davis, and today I have something from Chris Rosser. This is the iFlight AOS 7 EVO 7-inch long-range FPV drone. You can get this one in analog versions, and you can also get it in DJI 03. It has an F7 Blitz on board. It's the F722 flight controller, and it also has 55 amp 4-in-1 ESCs. And yes, it does have BL Heli on board. Hopefully it's the current, most modern version, so you won't have any problems with the motor spooling up. We talked about that a few days ago on the channel. Now BL Heli is canceled. So whatever firmware is on these ESCs, you can kind of just stick to, because it will be new enough and it won't be an older version of BL Heli that you have problems with this drone. So you're safe to get it with what it has on there and just fly it. Sometimes I get stuff and I just fly it. I mean, I literally flew my module from TBS for almost 10 years and didn't update the firmware one time, and it worked since I got it. And I only most recently updated it because they have some new receivers coming out that I just got from Get FPV. But if you're looking for advice on, you're watching this video, obviously you're looking for advice on how to get into long range, which one to buy. You're probably maybe stalking the YouTube videos on which 7-inch you should get. Some number 7, some number 7.5. You can also get an 8, 9, and 10-inch. But why would you buy a 7 over a 10-inch? Mainly for portability, just a little smaller, a little more packable. And Chris's design here has a squashed X design. So this one is a little more compact than something like the Gep RC Crocodile 75 V2. Much more portable than iFlight's XL10, which we reviewed on the channel, and more portable even than the Moz 7. Even though the Moz 7 is a little smaller frame size than the Crocodile 75, and definitely smaller than the iFlight Chimera 75 V3, this one is pretty beastie. It's got front and back struts to sort of keep it in line with all of the vibration that's going to happen. Translates to your FPV camera. When you're getting vibrations in the frame, they translate to the video. So there has plenty of reinforcements here on this frame. It kind of reminds me of Catalyst Machine Works style frames. I mean, this is probably the Catalyst Machine Works beastie frame design of all of iFlight series. So this thing is built like a tank. It's definitely not a light drone by any means, but it does have good power and around a 25 to 30 minute flight time with something like an 8,000 milliamp. If you want to run a 6S 8,000 milliamp, you could do that on this drone. You can also put something like the Nav series batteries from Lumineer on here, and this is a 6S 6000, and I'm still getting almost 25 minutes with this battery, just cruising on a nice mellow day. So it's beautiful outside today. It's 70 degrees and sunny, so it's the perfect day to go out and fly some range flying with the AOS 7 EVO from Chris Rosser. So I appreciate Chris for sending this over for review. I've been wanting to check out some of his designs for quite some time. So I am happy that this one is fully loaded, $700 on the bench with GPS, TBS Crossfire, Li-ion battery, DJI 03, all the bells and whistles on this one. Let's go ahead and do it, and I will fly along with you guys, and I'll give you my impressions of my first and maiden flight with my iFlight EVO 7, AOS EVO 7. Here we go. Okay guys, let's go ahead and go for a flight test together. AOS 7 EVO 1.2 here. Let's just get out there for our maiden flight. Now, if you've never flown a 7-inch before, I have to tell you, the bigger they are, the better they fly. That's pretty much true for just about anything RC. The larger wingspan you have, prop span, whatever you want to call it, it's just great. It kind of feels like the RC glider of quadcopters once you get to this scale. Now, some of the things that I want you to do here, and for your own evaluation, just like make this full screen on your TV and watch this to see if you see any jello. It was quite windy today, and whenever it's windy, way up high is where you can see some of the shutter. There is some shutter in this video. It's likely because of a few things, and one of the things being the wind, and number two being the cord of the prop. I feel like the cord on the prop is a little bit wide, and the wider cord you have, the more you're going to see oscillations in the flight controller, and that's just, you know, common in FPV quads. The thicker you go, the more vibes you get. But let's get past the tune on here now. I think the tune can be a little better. Now, once I got past the tune and I started just getting a feel for how these motors work, how the throttle responds to the ESCs, how slow and precise I could get with the 7-inch if I want to get out there and just kind of explore. That to me was probably the funnest thing about this quad. I could really get in nice and tight. The angle on the camera is probably about close to 20%, and not having it cranked all the way up to 30 lets me fly a little bit slower in a good sized field. If you want to fly out there for miles and miles and miles, crank that camera up to like 30 degrees because you'll cover more ground quicker. If you just want to kind of cruise and get out there and test it for your maiden flight, just leave the camera right where it is. This is perfect. So this is the stock setup you're seeing here, nothing crazy. It's flying on a 6S 6000 milliamp pack. So I actually reduced the weight of my pack on board, and you know, typically you would fly 8,000 pack on here. Now it may be that with the reduced weight we're seeing more oscillations because a lot of times quads are tuned to a certain battery, and that may be the reason. When I tried the 6S 8000, we might see some of that clear up, because yeah, quads are tuned usually from the factory to a certain size battery that they recommend, as well as with the props that came with it. Now, sometimes if you have a quad and it's giving you oscillations, you can change up the prop to a little thinner cord, and sometimes it'll clear it right up. Because Betaflight stock PID tune right now is pretty good. It's really good. But I love the way this feels. It feels predictable, slow, and with TBS Crossfire running on there, I'm running 500 milliwatt on TBS Crossfire. I feel like I could go a good distance with this. The feel of this quad makes me feel like I could get out there and do some exploration, and that's the fun side of 7-inch. Finding a good mountain range, getting above those trees and just climbing that mountain. And here we have the river, and I love flying over the river. It makes me a little bit nervous getting too close to it because I know if I have a RSSI failure that I'll be right in the water, and I'd hate to be there. Well, let's dive it now and let's see how it handles a good dive. It didn't increase the speed a whole lot. I was able to kind of control my speed on that dive, which was nice. Some of the other quads I've flown, they want to go really, really fast when you dive them. But it almost feels like this footage was like slowing down a little bit. But this is actually what it looked like when I was flying. And I'm still amazed at the penetration of the DJI system. The DJI 03 is ridiculous. Like this tree line right here should give me some breakup. If I was on analog right there, I would have had tons of static, especially when I dip back down in here and I get low to this tree line. Right there is where I could completely lose video on the DJI 03, and I didn't even skip a beat right through there. I left the VTX at stock. So I mean, that's pretty incredible that I'm able to do that. And sometimes I've had a little bit of breakup around these trees right here. They're pretty thick right there, but not today. There's not a lot of moisture in the air. Sometimes when there's more moisture in the air, you have a little hard time maintaining signal. Let's do a dive. Pretty steep dive there with a 6,000 pack on. I have no problem. I had someone tell me once, one of my long range reviews, oh, you know, you can't dive down a mountain with a 7.5 inch, like the Chimera 7. It can't dive, it'll bottom out. I've never bottomed out with any of my 7-inch, especially on 6S. Even though it's a Lion, if you keep your Lions in relatively good shape and you're not flying old Lions, you should be fine. And I've been fortunate enough to be in good standings with my Lions. My Lions are less than a year old. And the Luminaire Nav series ones have they've really done me pretty well. I love the 6S 6000 milliamp. So Get FPV, if you're listening, please send me a couple more of those. I will put in a bag order. You know, some of us reviewers, we need to have our batteries replenished once in a while. But it feels like this would be a lot of fun for someone who wants to just have something that'd be a little more durable and something you can get out there and explore with. And right here I slowed way down because this little pine tree right here that's growing up, I wanted to see how low to the ground with this I could get and how slow I could get on an orbit and how precise this quad could be. So right here I'm literally cutting grass going around that tree. And that was a really good test. And I'm flying in acro right there. I'm not flying in stability mode. So it does great. All right, guys, this is the box that you get. This drone weighs in at 655.9 grams with a 6S 8000 pack. That's going to get you some serious weight on here. And actually, it goes off my scale. It is seemingly over 1,000 grams. So we're just going to put the 6,000 on there and see if that one registers. And that one's also off the scale. So by the time you add a GoPro, you're going to be well over 1,000 grams on this quad. iFlight does say we can get around 30 minutes flight time if you fly the 6S 8000 pack. And in today's flight test, we flew the Luminaire Nav series battery. It's a 6S 6000 milliamp Li-ion pack, and I was able to get up to 25 minutes with this battery. Chris's AOS 7 EVO has a Squash X design to it. It has crossbars front and back here. It also has GPS and XT60 back here, 2 straps to hold these larger batteries on, and plenty of truck bed to be able to put those larger batteries on, all the way up to, I would say, even like something like the Upgrade Energy batteries, 6S10AH would definitely fit on here. I do have some of those. Also, they're called Dark Energy, probably the most expensive nice Li-ions you can buy. But the size of this quad, again, it's smaller spaced than the Gep RC Crocodile 75, the Chimera 75 V3, as well as the Maz 7. Just a little bit smaller dimensions on here. It's 284 by 228 by 34.5 millimeters high. Up front, Chris designed in some great O3 camera protection here. We have a crossbar on the top and the bottom, which I like to see. We also, just behind the camera setup, we have the GoPro mount here. It's a TPU mount. It goes 4 in, and it also has extra beveled spacer style bolts through this TPU mount so that you don't have it rip through. The props it comes with are the GymFan 7040 props. They do have a little bit wider cord than I really like on a 7-inch, so if I were you, I would start out with these props and maybe move on to some better props that are a little thinner cord. Powering Chris's AOS 7, we have the Zing series motors, and those are 2806.5, 1300 kV motors. So they're great on 6S, they have good power. I did do a dive with these, and I was able to pull up with that 6S 6000 milliamp pack on there. It is not small, so these series motors do have good power to them. If you want a freestyle 7, you could. Just use a LiPo and not a Li-ion pack. This quad does come with GPS that can get you upwards of 10 satellites, probably in about 30 seconds time. It's pretty fast. When I was testing it today, there wasn't a lot of clouds in the sky, but I was able to get 10 satellites in around a minute. So you will hear the quad beep. And if you want to have GPS set up on here, you need to set it up inside Betaflight, because warning, this quad, when I plugged it into Betaflight, it was not set up for a GPS return to home. It was set up to drop. So if you buy this, make sure that you go inside Betaflight, set up GPS return to home, put it on a switch, and also make sure that your fail-safe tab is set to GPS return to home. Also, don't allow the quad to arm without GPS lock. That is super important, because if you just arm and fly away without the home lock, then you're not going to have return to home functions available to you if you do fail safe. So be careful there. It also operates in GNSS, GPS, Galileo, and QZSS, which is kind of cool. So you should get an upwards of 15 to 20 satellites. Now, looking at the quad from the side, it's not very tall. Like I said, it's only 34.5 millimeters tall, and it does have a pretty low profile to it, which is cool. A lot of the quads out there now in the 7-inch category are kind of almost like old school lowriders. They have just enough taut frame height to be able to get the flight controller in there and get all of your gear packed inside here. Now, this is a little wider frame from side to side, which kind of allows your battery a little more protection from side to side. You also have these dual antennas here, which will kind of cradle your battery right in the middle. And once you put the 8000 series pack on there, it's going to be kind of like right up against both of those antennas. So one thing to consider there is if you do crash, you want to make sure that you have some Velcro on the bed of this quad and on your battery, just to give it a little more side-to-side protection. My feeling on this design is that with them mounted straight to the frame like that, I've seen this before, they've done this in the past. I was never a fan of the hard mount antenna design through the frame because sometimes you will break them clean off the frame in a crash. Just one thing to consider here is that I would kind of prefer that these were mounted off the back of the quad with our standard TPU setup like we see in 2024. And a couple examples of what I'm talking about are right here with the Crocodile 75 V3. It has the rear facing antennas here from the DJI-03 with sort of vertical mount on this one. And this one has a singular antenna coming off the back, but this one's an analog setup. And this is the iFlight XL10. So just to give you an idea of what the rear mount looks like versus the top mount. I just want to give you a peek inside the frame here. Behind the camera, you've got still a lot of room to put other things or other accessories in here. This is where the DJI-03 air unit sits, and just behind that we have the F7 flight controller with the USB-C port right there for beta flight. Your 55 amp ESCs are living right here, just aside from your vertical mount antennas going through on this side. And behind that we have the capacitor. We also have this VBAT unit right here above where our RX tray is, and in the very back right there is your GPS mount. Now, even though we got kind of an odd antenna mount, vertical mount system on this quad, I do think aside from that, that this design will be more of a durable design versus something like the XL10 for sure, because it's so big and heavy and just kind of long. I don't have strut support on this one. It's just a giant frame for a lot of distance flying. Now, Crocodile 75, it also has pretty long and narrow arms, so these will most likely break in a good crash. You will probably have better arm durability on this one with the front and back struts on here, and they are much thicker than what I'm seeing on the Crocodile 75. Just give you a look right there. It looks like we have 6 mil on the Croc. I'm saying that we're approaching probably 8 to 9 mil on Chris Rosser's design. So it's definitely, it has more of a squash design to it. So that's going to give you more extra durability. And as far as it, like, this would almost be like the Bando Basher of 7-inch long-range drones. It is more compact, a little smaller footprint, a little more portable, and it's definitely going to be more indestructible versus some of the wide-open True X frames. Now, another thing for you to consider is that this EVO 7 right here on the top, it has an open frame design along the side. Now, some people don't care about this. Some people like this style frame better than the closed side skirt style frames because it offers more airflow through the frame. It's not closed off, but it does offer less scraggle protection than something with side skirts on here. These are breakable. You can also take these off and on, and you can repair them by putting new ones on there. The side panel right here, it was almost like some kind of 3D printed side panels from Gap on the Crocodile 75, and it had TPU front ends on it, but it is adding a little more weight to the overall design. So this one has been reduced in weight, and it has such a funky, weird side plate to it that it would be honestly kind of weird to have side plates on the AOS 7 EVO. So I think as far as airflow goes, you're going to have less problems with your 03 overheating in the summer months with Chris's design. So if you're still watching this video at this point, you know, I would say congratulations, because you have a good idea now of the differences of Chris's AOS 7 EVO 1.2 versus something like a bind and flag Gap RC Crocodile 75, the Mod 7, and the Chimera. There are pros and cons to each of these. You know, some of the biggest pros about Chris's AOS 7 EVO is the I would say that the durability of this is going to be higher again than what I see here, aside from his vertical mount top plate antenna design. This is, again, kind of a a 2015 style design off the back of the quads, like we used to see on 5-inch freestyle and racing quads. People did that for a short time because they snapped off. Aside from that, this frame is built to crash. Front and back, again, like I showed you before, this front arm brace right here, and even the arms themselves go into the center of the quad with the Squash X. They have a much thicker carbon setup here. TPU bumpers on the outside edge. It's got that sort of old school 80s guitar design off the end out here. It looks like a battle axe style guitar. If you guys remember those in the 80s from the heavy metal bands. This will be more durable again than not having them on the outside here. One of the things that I liked about the Crocodile 75, and still true to this design, is how light they got this one. It does have much thinner arms. It's made for maximum flight time. I'm getting the longest flight times on my Croc 75 out of any of the other 7-inch drones that I have in the bind and fly category. It has side skirts to it, which for me, I could, use the side skirts or not. In the summertime, I'd almost suggest removing them because you want to keep that airflow going through your components better than kind of casing them all in. Even though there's venting here in the summer months, that makes a difference. If you're running 1000 milliwatt, you have hacked your VTX, which most of you guys probably have at this point, to get that 1 watt out of your DJI O3. So I think overall, Chris's design has a lot more good points to it than bad points. I was easily able to take the top plate off, get to the flight controller, and access my receiver in the back in that receiver tray. And again, I think it's going to be crash worthy. If you send this one down through the pine trees with something like an 8,000 pack on there, I mean, you have to remember, like, you got like 1,000 grams here total weight. The more compact and close together the quad design can be with something like this on there, the better chance you have at being able to have not broken everything. Because I could see 2 or 3 of these arms breaking on the Croc 75 with an 8,000 pack. Let's just be honest there. But then again, these are not made to crash. They're made to be a little more durable for a crash or not as durable. This one was built lightweight for max flight time. But obviously, Chris decided to build something for you guys that was kind of more durable, hopefully. It also depends on what you hit and how fast you were going when you go in. So sometimes you crash through the trees and you walk up to it and pick it up and everything is just like it was when you took off. Nothing wrong with the quad. And that happens sometimes, FPV wings and quads. So it's pretty cool. Sometimes we get away with a lot. Unlike RC airplanes, I've just completely destroyed my RC airplanes and RC helis too. But quads are much more durable. So welcome to Long Range FPV if you're just getting into this, and be sure to subscribe on the channel because this is one of the channels that still does the long range reviews. There's not a lot of them left out there with the way the world is lately, but you will see it here on this channel. So be sure to subscribe and take care, guys. I will definitely see you on the next one. And please do use my links down below if you grab one of these AOS 7 EVOs. And I'll try to put a discount down there for you too. See you on the next one, guys. Take care.